Welcome one and all to Umami Manga. I'm one of your hosts, Petter, and with me I got my co-host, James.
Hello.
And today we're talking about Volume 14 of To Your Eternity. Just continuing on in the present day, I guess. Any opening words or anything before we get into the characters?
No, I mean, no, not really.
No.
Just it's fun. It's fun being in the modern day
It
after
is.
spending so long in before, and it's
Totally.
different worries uh,
For sure.
than I feel Fushi and the people around them had to deal with.
Exactly, and yeah, so I'll definitely look forward to talking about all of those worries as we get through the character discussions. Starting with Fushi, as always, seeing Fushi describe Hayase in a positive light, or like trying to describe Hayase in a positive light to Mizuha, was something I thought was pretty interesting. Like, fun to see that. I mean, obviously, she really was a villain,
hmm
but as I think we also talked about back in like volume 5 and 6, she wasn't 100% pure evil, even though she absolutely, you know, was evil, I
Right,
guess. But it was fun to see Fushi, like, yeah, trying his best to find her good qualities, I suppose.
right. And it was a little uncomfortable actually
Mm,
hear him kind of say those things, but there was truth to them, and as we mentioned long ago, she has this ability to have people like kind of rally behind her, and
yeah,
she's kind of a born leader in that sense, um, or was a born leader in that sense.
right.
But obviously, Fushi was lying in a way, or at least stretching the truth and
Yeah,
changing the narrative so as to not make Mizuha feel bad about who her ancestor was.
for sure.
Although
Yeah,
I think she figured, or maybe started to figure later on that perhaps Hayase was not thought as highly by Fushi and his disciples.
right. Yeah, I wonder about that actually. I wonder how much insight she got into that because I guess I really could see it either way with her, like her how she understood that.
hmm
Mm.
It was smart of Fushi to not say the terrible things about Hayase, not give the complete backstory at that point in time. Maybe
Yeah,
later on he tells the truth about who Hayase was, but
exactly. Right.
at least for now, it makes sense.
And actually, now that I've thought about it a little more, I guess there is good reason to believe Mizuha does have some insight into it because of her. Well, she seemed to understand it at least to some extent when she was talking to Tonari. When Tonari made it clear that she didn't want to be friendly with Mizuha,
Yeah,
Mizuha understood that it was because of her lineage.
that was the moment I was thinking of.
Right. Yeah.
hmm
Yeah. That sort of slipped my mind earlier, but yeah, I feel like yeah, she does understand it pretty well, probably. But yes, we did get to see the video of Fushi getting hit by the truck. Like, and I brought that
yeah.
up last time as maybe that'll cause some issues. It didn't necessarily cause issues, but or at least not yet. But it was nice to see that again in this volume. But then there was also that other video of that person falling from a bridge and seemed to have similar powers to Fushi. Now, I feel like I have two theories about this. I mean, maybe there's one that's sort of intended by the volume to be the theory, and it's, I guess, the idea that this person might be played by a knocker. Like it's because that was the thing that was brought up in this volume, obviously, with knockers sort of impersonating humans. So I was at first
hmm
thinking that maybe, or when that was brought up, I was thinking that maybe that was what that person was, the one who fell from the bridge in that video. But then we got to see that blonde girl at school who also appeared briefly in the previous book. I think her name was Funa, and she fell, and her wound healed. I didn't get a knocker vibe from her. I could be completely wrong in this assumption, but I just didn't feel like
hmm
she was a knocker. I guess I just feel like she might have been something entirely different. And so that got me thinking again that maybe the person who fell from the bridge might also not necessarily be a knocker. I don't know. Because I also had this thought that what if the Beholder created other immortals?
Hmm.
Like, what if Fuji isn't the only one? And what if they're, or, well, I don't know. I don't know, man. I'm a little bit at loss because it also feels weird that that girl in school would be an immortal similar to Fushi. So I'm not. Yeah. What do you make of all of this? Namely, I guess the girl in at school and the guy in the video who fell from the bridge, like those two specifically.
Right.
Mm.
Well, first off, when I saw that the guy got back up after falling off the bridge, I was like, wait, what? I was just as confused as Fushi, obviously, and just like, what? I don't understand that. And honestly, I didn't even think about that guy until my reread. And I was like, oh, because Nokker. And so what my thinking is,
Mm.
the guy committed suicide or fell off for whatever reason, died, but then the Nokker took over his body.
Ah, right.
And then he got back up.
Mm-hmm.
So that's how I think it happened there.
That's fair. That actually makes a lot of sense, especially considering also Izumi, Mizuha's mother. Like it would be a sort of similar thing there. Yeah.
Similar situation.
Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah.
Now, as for the girl, because she was bullied, potentially she did commit suicide, and then the Nokker took that body. But I do agree with you, her expression and mannerism was a little strange.
Right.
It could be that she was just trying, or the Nokker was just trying to copy the feelings and the mannerism that this person had.
Right.
And so, that's what we're seeing there when she falls, and Nokker's not faced because. What's the little girl's name? Mimori.
Yeah.
Mimori acted very calm and tame, just like a little girl, until she took the sword and stabbed herself. But that, to me, is a distinct characteristic difference. So I wouldn't be surprised if the Nokkers are able to very closely copy the mannerisms and personality of the people.
Yeah.
But granted, Izumi is a little different, the Nokker Izumi, because she does a kind of 180 personality-wise.
Right.
Basically becomes the quote-unquote perfect mother.
Exactly. Yeah.
So yeah, I agree with you that it's a little confusing.
Right, but it is really interesting. Izumi, I feel like, since I guess she was the one we got to see the most of out of the Nokkers that are impersonating humans, and while she definitely isn't, like, she doesn't necessarily seem to have her personality like the real Izumi. She at least seems to, well, obviously she seems to be a perfect replica, like physically, of her, as well as she seems to have her memories potentially, or like she seems to know things that I don't feel like the Nokker would know if it wasn't the real her. Like, for example, she mentions how she felt when Mizuha ran away to her grandfather. Like, she, and all, and something that I don't feel like the Nokker would have completely made up, and that makes me think that maybe they are able to sort of replicate the mind as well of the person that they become, maybe.
My theory on that is these Nokkers are in the bodies of these people who pass away, and to what extent they've controlled or have infested humankind, I guess we don't fully understand. It's quite frightening.
Yeah.
But in the case of Izumi's Nokker, that Nokker would have been with Izumi and noticed like their patterns and been with them to see those certain memories. So I think in that case, it's more that the Nokker was always there, and so its memories are shared with Izumi. Is my thinking.
That's also a possibility, absolutely. But back to Fushi, I suppose. He does go to school, as we talked about a little bit at the end of the previous discussion. He and Tonari and Gugu and Hyro all go to school, while Echo and March are being homeschooled. So yeah, that's super cool to see. Although I was sort of hoping for Echo and March to actually go to school, I guess. but yeah, I mean, this is cool too.
I mean, they'll go eventually. I mean,
yeah.
March probably needs a little bit of help, and definitely Echo has some special needs. So it makes sense to be homeschooled at first. But maybe when they grow up, maybe they'll go to middle school or whatever.
Yeah.
But Fushi going to school is a really fun concept to me, because I feel like usually these characters who are not human, they're like really excited to go to school and experience what school's like. But Fushi is just like, man, this is stupid. Like, or he doesn't say that, but his expression
Yeah.
and everything. I mean, when
Right.
he's in the moment, he feels like he's kind of enjoying meeting people and whatnot. But
Uh-huh.
obviously, he's not putting his heart into this education whatsoever, and understandable. Um,
Yeah, yeah, he gets in trouble with the teacher because of his attitude.
which is kind of a point on Japanese culture with teachers. At least here in America, yes, I mean you got to be respectful, but it's much more of a, at least some of the best teachers you have are kind of like buddy buddy type of thing. The teachers will assist you, but it's not like authoritarian. Where this is very much,
Mm,
at least for the most part in Japanese schools, it's you have to, your sensei is above you, and
right.
you have to speak politely and that sort of things. Otherwise, you kind of get in trouble.
Hmm.
Not saying we swear at teachers well, maybe it depends on what class. I'm sure there's plenty of classes that did. Anyway,
Yeah.
point is, it's interesting to see that kind of, uh, I guess, rhetoric about Japanese culture
Yeah.
and how Fushi has no idea, like what, or Yanome culture, excuse me, and Fushi
Oh
has no
yeah.
idea, like it's just like whatever, like it doesn't matter to me.
Yeah. Right. Right. For sure. For sure. And I thought that that teacher seemed a little bit at a loss. Like he seemed kind of baffled at kind of receiving that sort of attitude from one of his pupils.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
probably he's probably not used to that. Most of the students are probably pretty in line, I suppose.
hmm But you called the school.
Oh
You're
yeah,
like, oh, I wonder if they go to school.
I somehow did.
Yeah.
But yeah, yeah. So I was definitely very happy to see that, and I did enjoy those parts, like seeing Gugu and Hyro in high school uniforms and stuff like that. It was very very
Yeah.
nice. Um, and actually, another thing about the knockers related to Fushi was that he felt the knockers' pain when it, the memory knockers' pain when it shoved that sword into itself, which I thought was interesting in some way. Because I mean, obviously, I know, like, I guess the body is flesh, so it's in a way human, but I mean, there's no
hmm
human fi in there, so it shouldn't. Or I guess if the fi is what Fuji connects to when he feels pain, then I guess this makes the situation interesting because there's a knocker fi in there, or multiple maybe even. I don't know how this works, if there's just one or if there's
Right.
more than one, but regardless,
hmm
he felt the pain of the knocker in that scene. So there was like a connection in some way to a knocker there, which might be the first in this sort of way. I feel, because Fushi has never been able to like replicate knockers or anything like that,
hmm
and I guess because that's something we've known for a while. So I guess with that, I sort of just assumed, I guess, until now, that he couldn't really feel their pain either or anything like that. But here he did. So yeah, I just thought that was pretty interesting.
So I didn't actually really think too much about that, but that is a fascinating point. I wish I would have.
Hmm. Hmm.
But here's my thought: is that it's not so much he's feeling the knocker pain, but like you said, the flesh, the body's pain.
Right.
And as we know, the entire world is the beholder's body, and Fushi has also gained that kind of control. But I think that also extends to the bodies of the humans and the animals and everything. And so, because he's connected to that body, he's able to feel those pains and those other things. So it's not so much he's feeling the knockers uh, themselves; it's the body that's alive
Right.
that he
Yeah.
feels that pain. And I think that extends to love and other things as well. Obviously, Phi are an important part of that, but I think that the Phi come to Earth in order to experience those things like love
Hmm.
and pain.
Right. Yeah. So yeah, that exactly, that would, I feel, make sense absolutely, but that would also mean that these knockers who have taken human forms in this world right now, they are essentially just living like any human is, which would really completely just go against what the knockers want, right? because they want to be free of flesh.
Hmm.
But right now, several ones are living in flesh. So
And I have some theories about that,
mm,
but I'll save it for when we get into the deep Nokker discussion
for
because
sure.
I don't want to stray too far away from Fushi right now.
Right, yeah, that's probably wise. um, I get the one last thing I got on Fushi here is that in his search for an answer to the question of what love is, he took the form of a pregnant sea turtle and laid some eggs, and I thought that was obviously very funny, but it also made me think like, are we gonna continue to like focus on these eggs to any extent? 'Cause I feel like
I mean, those are Fushi's children,
right, they are
technically.
Fushi's first offspring. Like that's a pretty big deal. I will say though that if the story does focus at all on that, I I don't think that these turtles that will hatch from those eggs will be special in any way. I don't think.
No. Yeah.
I don't think that Fushi's offsprings will also have some sort of immortality abilities or anything
Right.
similar to Fushi, because
Hmm.
really when he is a turtle or when he is any form that he assumes, it's really just in a regular body of anything natural on Earth. So I feel like
Hmm.
him giving birth to something wouldn't really change anything. I don't think. But yeah, I just thought that was an interesting thing. You know, Fushi, almost becoming a parent here.
Yeah. It's really funny. I just because it was so like odd too. Well, and just well placed because he's laying eggs. He's just like, is this what love is?
Yeah, yeah. Although, and I thought that was pretty sweet though. I mean, it was funny, but it was also nice because I feel like a lot of parents probably feel some just automatic love toward their child, not like even though the child might be like just newly born and like
Uh huh.
you don't know this little person that just came out the womb, but they still love it. They still love that child, like
Right.
just kind of automatically. And I feel like that's just something in our hormones maybe that just makes it
Hmm.
like that. Yeah, I think it might have been something like
But watch Fushi just completely ignore the eggs, never
that. Yeah.
touch of it. I mean, they got to hatch eventually, so I guess he has time to, you know, be a single mother, and then,
Right.
you know.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
So touching on that love, uh, he says, "I want to know what love is.
Yeah.
I want you to show me."
Yes.
And that reminds me of Volume 8 when he was trying to figure out love, you know?
Right, for sure. Yeah.
And then he was asking Kahaku about that, and obviously that gave him a bit of excitement, but also a bit of pain as well, um, which I'm sure Mizuha is feeling more or less at this point
Yeah.
similarly.
Uh-huh.
Um, so that parallel is pretty interesting.
Definitely. Definitely.
But so I guess this is the hard love is the hardest thing for Fushi to understand.
So it
Um,
seems so, yeah.
yeah, because he seems like he picks up on most things, but love is a continuing feeling or theme that he's very curious about, but also doesn't want to. Or at least, I mean, I feel like in this volume in the middle, he was feeling that I don't want to experience that per se.
Mm,
But it wasn't until he realized that's what separates humans from knockers
right.
that he wanted to experience that for himself.
Yeah, that's actually a really interesting point because that reminds me of his time in Renreal when he was, you know, basically rebuilding the entire city to make it all his. There was a part where he was, you know, because at that point he was starting to feel the emotions of everybody in the city at the same time, and there were a few emotions that he couldn't quite pinpoint. I wonder if those might have been supposed to be love.
Maybe.
I feel like at this point that would sort of make sense considering he, as you said, he does struggle with sort of understanding that, and we didn't
Hmm.
really. I mean, if that's supposed to be what it is, we didn't put that together back then because we were both a bit at a loss at that. But I feel like that would make sense as an answer to that now.
Yeah, it could be that, the love that he usually feels is more of like more of a romantic love, and maybe the love that or that other feeling was more familial love, or I don't know, brotherly love. I have no idea.
Mm.
I don't know if that is distinctable enough, but either
Right.
way, yeah, that could definitely be a possibility.
Hmm.
But I do find it odd that he himself says, "I don't love. I, I'm just selfish about things. I just brought everybody back because I'm selfish and I wanted them back." But that's the thing to me. You care about these people. That's why you want them back.
Mm.
And yes, you want them to keep you company, of course, but because you love them.
Mm.
That's what love is. And
Yeah.
at least I feel like that is a fact. If it's not romantic love, as we know it,
Yeah. Yeah.
but I, I feel like that is a facet of love.
Absolutely.
And maybe that's a lesson he'll learn. But to say that he doesn't have any love, it doesn't make sense to me. As he's so kind to people and wants to do what's best for everybody. And yes, I could see where he's coming from. That, oh, this is my wants and my desires, but it's okay to want the safety and the protection of your loved ones. Like, it's okay to want that.
For sure.
Um, I hope he comes to a realization that's okay. And
Mm.
unless I'm like totally misunderstanding what Oyama is trying to do or trying to say here, which I could be.
I mean, sure. There's also always the possibility, but no, I agree with you, and I think I'm going to say something that you have reiterated quite nicely a couple times in our previous discussions. Something that I think was originally said by Bon. Fushi is stupid. So,
Yeah.
so which yeah, I think sort of
uh,
applies to this because as you said, you're right. He does actually love these people. I think it's been made very clear throughout the story. So for
mhm.
the fact that he doubts that in this volume, well, I think he's just wrong.
Yeah, I want to say that too.
Mm, mm.
Um, that he just doesn't, and maybe that's the point is he has to realize that, wait, I do love, and
Right.
there is and he has that humanity inside of him.
Yeah.
And to the extent, I wonder if the beholder has ever loved, or maybe he loves Fushi in a way.
Oh,
I don't know,
yeah, yeah,
but
yeah.
yeah, it's just an interesting concept, and I'm glad we're back here because
Mm,
that was always a topic that I loved seeing being discussed and delved into,
for
but
sure.
then they would move on to a different thing.
Right.
It's like, no, I mean, yes, it was great, but also come back.
Yeah, I completely understand that.
But I
Yeah,
think surely this is the time where we'll go more in depth into that kind of thing.
I hope so, for sure.
Another evidence of his kindness, I guess. I mean, and I don't think he extend to love or brotherly love at least. He
Mm.
he offers to help Mizuha hide,
Yeah.
despite everything that happened in the past with Hayase's will. He offers to help her hide and like find out what's going on with her mother.
Mm-hmm.
That being said, this goes back to your stupid comment. Oh, wait a minute. Your comment about Fushi being stupid. There we go.
Yeah.
Is he setting himself up for failure here, or is putting himself in a trap? And I don't mean, maybe I'm taking the Tonari route here, but I don't mean to doubt Mizuha, and I think she is a troubled girl, but
Mm.
is also can be a sweet soul and needs help. So I'm glad Fushi is the one that is willing to give her that hand.
Yeah.
But I also wonder if this is spelling a disaster potentially. You know?
Yeah. Man, I'm definitely on edge a bit whenever Mizuha's around,
Yeah.
but at the same time, I really adore her. I think she's an amazing character and really like she seems really sweet in a lot of ways, but there is still that little worry deep down.
Yeah. I mean, I agree.
Mm,
I don't know. So I just wonder if it's right for Fushi to be so trusting, but
yeah,
I guess we'll find out.
right, for sure.
I thought it was funny that Fushi's idea of a relationship was based on Masar.
Oh yeah,
It's
oh,
like,
like
come on, man.
kissing like Masara always does with those ladies.
Like, oh
Yeah.
man, he's got a warped perception on that one.
Oh boy, yeah. That was really funny.
But he definitely needs a teacher. And teacher's a weird way to put it, but he needs someone to help him see what love is. And maybe it's not necessarily Mizuha, even though she offers.
Right,
It
yeah.
could be Yuki, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. Or it could be Aiko. She seems pretty wise to be honest. Like
She, oh yeah, oh yeah, yeah,
she
for sure.
she's really smart. I really like her. But
Yeah.
but yeah. I'm really hoping that in if it doesn't happen next book, then maybe then one after that, or at least I'm hoping for very soon for Fushi to actually sort of understand it, or at least it starts to learn to understand it,
Right.
because it definitely seems like at this point, at the end of the book, he sort of accepted Mizuha's help in understanding that, even though it was a bit manipulative.
It was a bit.
You're right, a little bit, like in some sense. But despite of that, I think it should be interesting to see where that scene leads.
Do you think she could be a pretty good teacher of love, or is it the wrong kind of love?
I have no idea, to be honest. I mean,
I know it's
it's like
how we were supposed to know.
it. Well, although I will say that because of her holding Hayase's Phi, I do think, because this is something I said in volume 6. I said that I thought Hayase's love for Fushi was real love, true love, and in the part of the story where Kahaku was around, I also was convinced that his love for Fushi was real romantic love.
Okay.
So based on the fact that she still carries on that same fight that those two had, I guess with that in mind, I can't really say anything else. I do think that because of her having that fight, I do think her love for Fushi is real.
Yeah, good point.
So maybe she would be a good teacher, but
No, it's a good point. And to be fair, Fushi hasn't given her that chance per se.
Right.
And now that he's willing to, I guess, experiment with even romantic love,
Yeah.
maybe she'll be able to open the door. But I don't know. For some reason, and I guess this could segue into Mizuha's talk.
Yeah.
For some reason, I think she is either going to be too obsessive for it to make a big difference in Fushi, or it's just not going to click. It still won't click. Like she won't be overbearing,
Mm.
but he still won't get it, and it's going to need someone else who's not trying to be romantic or even this is how you do it. Just more, it just happens, and he observes and he's like, wait a minute, maybe
Right.
that's what it is.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. I could definitely see something like that. So like maybe the Aoki siblings help him out somehow,
Yeah,
perhaps.
maybe.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. But yeah, moving into Mizuha then, and kind of continuing on this topic that we were on. I think similarly to Hayase, Mizuha definitely, and I agree with you on that. Mizuha definitely seems possessive
Mm-hmm.
of Fushi, or maybe didn't say that exactly. I think you used the word obsessive at the very least.
Right,
Which
obsessive,
I think
correct.
is also true, but possessive as well. She is possessive of Fushi.
Yeah,
Um, and
definitely.
like because there was that one scene when they were outside of the shrine where she expressed some, like, how she wanted him to like let her know if someone
Yeah.
like wanted to go out with him, and that he shouldn't accept it, and like it was definitely similar to how Hayase sort of viewed Fushi as her own. And
Mm-hmm.
and another thing
And the way she acted at school as well,
yeah, exactly.
when Fushi first got there,
Hmm.
she was definitely peeved by all the attention he was getting.
Exactly, for sure.
Yeah.
And another thing that just screamed Hayase to me was, when she said, "I'll teach you all about love," which is pretty much a direct quote by Hayase
Yeah.
from her last
It really was.
scene with Fushi in the boats.
Come full circle here.
Yeah, so, I mean, it was really nicely done, but also makes me a bit on edge.
I wonder when she was writing, when Oima was writing the this arc, and she gets this point. It's like, what if Hayase actually did teach Fushi? Wouldn't that be hilarious? Wait a minute, that's brilliant, or something.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh dear. Yeah, and it's really funny too because like in several drawings of Mizuha, I look at her and I feel like, oh my god, it's just Hayase, although
Yeah.
she looks like a little cuter, I guess. But like it's like she looks so much like Hayase. It's a little creepy.
Indeed.
But yeah, now somehow Mizuha will try to teach Fushi what love is. So I'm very excited to see how that's gonna like how the scene is gonna go.
Yeah. I love. Speaking of that scene,
Hmm.
I love how it parallels with the last page in the previous volume.
Oh
It,
yeah.
so, will you be my friend? Obviously, that will live on in infamy, I think.
Yeah.
But it almost takes the whole page, that panel.
Mm, mm.
Same with this last page, and then below it is Fushi's reaction. Now the reactions are different.
Right.
In previous volume, it was kind of like oh no, maybe a bit of horror.
Hmm.
And this one, it's almost he's trying to hold back a laugh, or he's just smiling awkwardly. Like I don't know. It's I don't know exactly what that expression is, but it's different than the previous volume, and so it's an interesting parallel that maybe shows where their relationship is going, and maybe he's slowly trusting Mizuha more. And
Yeah.
who knows? Maybe there is something to this
Dude,
Fushi Mizuha ship.
I could see it. And I'm not entirely against it.
I'm not entirely against it either.
Mm.
I'm right there. Being a Tonari Fushi shipper. I say that I'm not like I'm not the fan club president or like I'm kind of like yeah I like that, that'd be nice,
Yeah.
but I'm not totally all in it. So
Right.
I kind of need more from them, and I'll go back later, I guess. But this could be an interesting progression for Fushi and to an extent Mizuha.
Mhm.
This kind of cursed bloodline always gets so close to Fushi in various ways,
Uh-huh.
and yet can never possess, quote unquote, the one that they love.
Right.
Um, Now, that would also mean that Mizuha wouldn't be able to do that either. But maybe she breaks that curse somehow. I don't know.
Yeah, no,
Could be interesting.
it's been really funny to see kind of like not just Fushi's sort of progression with Misuha, but his progression with the entire Hayase line in a way because
Yeah.
at least out of the ones that he's interacted with a decent amount, it's sort of gotten better with each in a way. Because
Mm-hmm.
obviously with Hayase it was terrible. Like there was basically nothing good at
Yeah.
all there.
Absolutely the worst.
Then
Yeah.
Hisame came around for a little bit, and that was not good, but it was better at least than Hayase herself.
Yeah.
And then Kahaku was actually pretty good. He was just
Yeah.
things went to shit, but it wasn't really
Yeah.
his fault, I guess. But yeah, things were complicated. And now we got Mizuha, where I feel like the chances are like she has a chance to get closer to Fushi than Kahaku did. So
Maybe.
yeah, really really interesting.
Yeah. It will be interesting to see. And I guess speaking on the Hayase bloodline,
Mm.
if you think about it, besides the Beholder and now his Fushi's disciples, Hayase's will and her bloodline has been with Fushi for years.
Oh yeah.
Uh, it's almost like he has an eternal companion in Hayase's will. Just
Hmm.
it's a different person each time, but in that sense, it's kind of there is a bit of a camaraderie there. So maybe there is something there about a relationship or
Yeah.
a poetic there. I don't
I
know.
think I think it could be. I mean, obviously, it depends on how it's executed and all that.
Of
But
course.
I think it has great potential to become something very beautiful.
Now this all could be a trick. It really could.
Oh, for sure.
A trick. A trick, maybe not the right word. It could be a twist that
Mm.
not necessarily not saying that Mizuha betrays per se, but maybe just doesn't go down as a ship.
Right, for sure. And I mean, Fushi will keep on living for a good long while, so maybe it's a descendant of Mizuha that will end up shipping with Fushi, potentially. But yes, I guess going back to the sort of the beginning of the story for as far as Mizuha is concerned, the well, she stayed at that abandoned shrine until she learned that her mother was back alive, and yeah, like that was such a that phone call with her father. Like I was like
Oh
on
yeah,
edge at first, and then he was like, "Your mother is worried." I'm like, "Wait, what?
yeah.
What's going on here?"
It's like, wait a minute, what? Dad, you don't understand. She's dead. She
Right.
can't be. Oh my gosh, she's alive.
She's alive and she's like pretty much too good to be true.
An angel.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I was fully ready to have a Mizuha camp out in the woods kind of situation
Mhm.
and just see where the story goes from there. FBI most wanted kind of kind of a situation, but it definitely went in a direction I wasn't fully expecting. Now, I still stand by this being kind of a murder mystery in a way because while we do have confirmation from Izumi
Uh-huh.
that Mizuha's mom
Yeah.
that Mizuha killed her, she doesn't have memory of what happened. Fushi is believing her in that sense, and now we know that tiny knockers are in the body.
Yeah.
So I feel like my theory of the many that I gave last week,
Yeah.
that it was a knocker that took control
Mm.
and stabbed Izumi, um, it has a good foundation.
Absolutely. Yeah. I definitely also think that one's still a good possibility. Um
Yeah, the dad and grandpa stuff. Yeah, man,
yeah.
let's forget about those.
Probably not in neither of those, but
Definitely not the dad. The dad's okay.
right, yeah, yeah, for sure. I like the grandpa's fine too, I think. But it's either
Uh,
entirely Mizuha's, mental instability, or it's the knocker influencing her. Like it's one of those two.
uh,
I don't see any other like option exactly, but yeah, it's not
right.
like it's not 100% on what it is yet. So I look forward to finding out exactly what was the cause
Hmm.
of it or what was the reason.
Indeed.
I thought it was pretty cool of Izumi, who was really, as we talked about last time, she was painted in a very bad light in the previous volume, but
Hmm.
seeing her interact with Bon in this volume, I thought it was really cool of her to take it upon herself to find others like her, others whose bodies had been taken over by knockers or knockers impersonating them and stuff like that. Like she really is doing a very fine job with that.
Right. I agree.
Very respectable.
And yeah, she was a terrible parent. There's no denying that. But she still loves her daughter.
Mm,
And potentially this death has made her realize that not that not that she loved her daughter, but that she was a terrible parent.
yeah.
And if she comes back, which I kind of think she will eventually, I think that
Yeah.
once they have things figured out, they'll kill the Izumi knocker, and then Fushi be able to bring her back, and then they'll have some sort of reunion. Maybe
Yeah.
that's too Sunshine and Rainbows, but I think that will happen.
Right,
And
yeah.
once she does come back, I think that she will repent. She will make changes in order to be a better parent for Mizuha.
Yeah.
But like you said, right now she's doing an amazing job finding other people like her.
Mm.
I mean, she's like a valuable member of the team.
Honestly, yeah. Yeah.
You want to know what I found interesting is
Mm.
she when she died and obviously started following her daughter. Well, when she found Bone, she knew the situation. She knew about the knockers. She knew about her descent, her Hayase line. She knew all of this, despite having quarrels with her father. And I think that could be because she was raised so passionately in their religion,
Right.
and maybe at one point she's like, enough's enough, I'm done. Or it could be my theory that I mentioned before. Listen last week to hear what that was. It could be something along those lines, and so she threw that all away.
Right.
Uh, but now that's coming in handy because she stayed as Fi and knows that there's knockers about or there's something going down. She knew what to do. She knew who to look for. She knew to look for Bone.
Yeah.
So yeah, I thought that was really well, it was kind of admirable of her.
Absolutely, for sure, for sure. What's left on Mizuha? I don't have anything.
Oh, really? So this one's really small. There's just a lot of romantic undertones when she's with uh, Fushi in that cabin and everything.
Oh
And
yes.
I guess it's try to make Fushi feel comfortable in a way. But I think it also could be setting up, potential, like we were saying, that potential ship,
Yeah.
um, or at least the destruction of ship. But we shall see.
We shall.
It's really sad that she has a bit of freedom with her mom with her mom dead, and she feels that, and she asked Fushi not to revive her mom.
Yeah.
And I understand where she's coming from in that situation, but it's also very sad that she feels she can't be free, or
Mm.
if life's better with her mom dead. Like that's really sad.
Yeah. I mean, right, right. Although I felt at the same time, I sort of felt like her main reason for heating Fushi to not revive her, it seemed more like it was that, you know, people would have already found out that she had been killed, and it would have just made things really weird and like awkward for her. Like more so, maybe, although even though it is a good thing, it would have made things really strange because it's an unnatural thing that would have happened if people had already found her mother and declared her dead for her to come back. Like that would have been too strange and drawn very awkward attention toward her, which, knowing her, that she wouldn't have appreciated that.
That's a good point
But
as
but
well.
I think you're right as well though. Like she was, you know, she was weighed down and restricted largely by her mother. So yeah.
So I'm gonna keep going on romantic stuff.
Uh,
Just not necessarily with Fushi. I think that maybe she did have a little thing for Aoki. I'm still unsure who she liked in that club,
right.
but I think maybe it could have been Aoki, just based on a couple of things she says. Like seemed a little like when they were going over to Yuki's house.
Mhm.
Um, she was like, wait, Aoki were you there?" Kind of a thing. She specifically mentions that, which I thought would be odd. Like, yeah, it's his house. Why wouldn't he be there? Um,
Right. Yeah, yeah, that is a good point.
but that little like that maybe like, oh, I could that'd be nice, like, doing stuff with him is completely overpowered with Fushi.
Oh yeah. Right, yeah. She is legitimately feeling lovesick when, she's
Right.
longing for Fushi, she misses him.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that sort of conflicting feelings would ever. I mean, it's not really conflicting anymore, but will that ever come back? I don't know. It seems like a plot point that it's still floating around
Mm.
because Hanna even brings it up. It's like, I think I know who you like,
Yeah.
kind of a thing.
Exactly.
So it could still be a thing
Definitely.
moving forward, but we shall see.
Mhm.
And then there's a moment with Hanna where um, she just Hanna's just talking to her in the club, and Mizuha mentions that, oh, you're not wearing the hair clip. If you're my friend, you'd wear the hair clip.
Oh yeah.
And that was really rude. Like,
Yeah,
that was a
yeah.
bit
She must have
much.
just had a bad day, I felt like.
She did. I agree she was having a bad day, and I think that's probably where it came from.
Mm,
But I wonder if that will ever be touched up again, because
right.
I don't know, it's kind of not cool to say, and you really should apologize for saying something like
I
that, I
hope she
feel.
does. I really hope she does eventually at the very least.
Yeah.
Although, yeah.
But maybe it's just one thing and moves on. Like, oh, well, whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, Hana seemed to be okay with it.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
Yeah. I'm sure it'll be fine, but it was I agree it was very rude. But we're done with Mizuha for now.
yeah.
All right, then let's talk about Hana next. And really, for me at least, most of what I got on her is related to the club and kind of our confusion last week about what exactly is this club that all these characters are a part of. And so I have two little things I want to address with regarding that. So first of all,
Sure.
in the character index in the physical release of this volume,
Mm-hmm.
there's the character index at the beginning of it where It says under Yuki's description, it says he's the vice president of the Occult Research Club.
Uh-huh.
But under Hanna, it says that she's the president of the Handicrafts, and then in parentheses, Occult Research Club.
Oh.
So
Okay. That's a little different than I thought. I guess.
right, and then there was also the panel where Yuki called it the Occult Club, while Hanna in the same panel called it the Handicrafts Club.
Right.
In one of the scenes here. So, I mean, understandably, we were confused last week, and I guess there's still reason to some degree to be confused, because it really hasn't ever been, like, completely explained, but it makes me feel like it might officially be the Handicrafts Club, but Yuki and those other guys are, like, more interested in the occult stuff, so they use it sort of as that kind of club more, maybe? What do you think?
I think that's exactly what it is, and I think I even mentioned something similar to that in our previous discussion, is that Hanna unfortunately didn't have anybody to join her club, I guess, and these three guys needed one more member, and so she said, okay, I'll be the president, and we call it the Handicap Club, and you can do your occult stuff. Like,
yeah, right. And like I agree. That's probably, or at least at this point, it seems the most logical, sort of. But it's still so specific that I feel like we should have gotten an explanation for it. But I don't know.
Yeah, maybe we will.
Maybe.
Who knows? Either way, she's getting more members now, you know.
Oh yeah, that's right.
So that's great. That's great. Like I hope they have a great handicraft clubs.
They could have had so many members if they had let all those girls in.
True. But Yuki's like, no simping allowed.
Right.
Actually, I have a thing about that, but I'll save it for a little later. But I do have a question. Anyway.
All right.
About Hanna. So one of the few things I got from her was just how much she seems to cheer on her friends, not just Mizuha, in various ways, and she's very understanding with Mizuha, and a great friend for her.
Yeah.
But she's also helping Yuki, who, I mean, I consider them friends, but I felt like she was kind of cold to him at times.
Yeah.
I mean, they went and did fishing and whatnot, and that was with the club, and that was cool. But when they're at the shrine, the abandoned shrine, and they see Fushi and Mizuha together, she's really supportive to him. It's like, no, you don't know, you got to have courage. Like that's what women want, or something like that.
Oh yeah, right.
And so she was very supportive of that, and it's like, wow, hey man, she's a good friend.
Yeah,
she really is.
That was really nice bit.
But my last thing is that I want more. I want more from Hanna and Yuki.
Yeah. Absolutely.
It's definitely, this arc is, at least so far, is definitely Mizuha's story. So I understand why they don't get as much focus. But I think it would go a long way if they got a little more focus in the story of who they are, and their struggles. Although I guess we do know more about Yuki than Hanna.
Yeah, or I don't know. I feel like I had more interest in Hanna after the previous book.
Yeah. I'm there with you.
And
yeah.
I don't think this book changed anything really. Both of them were pretty minor. I guess Yuki. I mean, yeah, he had more to do in this book than Hanna did, but
yeah.
I still think that Hanna's presence in the previous book sort of still makes me more interested in her than in Yuki, but still definitely want more from both of them. I agree there.
Cool.
But then I guess we can move on to the Aoki siblings. We talked about them pretty much at the same time last time, so I figured they can share a slot here as well. Yuki and Aiko. So I guess starting with Yuki a bit, since we were talking about him. Did you have a question about him, or was that about something else?
Sure, I could put it here. What is the difference between having a crush on someone and just you kind of little crush? Oh, I kind of like her. I want to go, ask her out, and then simping. Like, what is the difference? Because I was thinking about our discussion last time and how he was like, oh, he was totally silly for hard, and I was like, no, that's not how it is.
Right.
But then I was just thinking back. It's like, oh, well, maybe I guess you could call that simping. Like I don't know.
That is a good question. Maybe I was exaggerating it when I like I don't know at this point.
Right. Because what Mizuha is doing to Fushi, I'd call that simping. Wouldn't
Yeah.
you? Or no?
No, yeah, no, yes, I would. In that case, absolutely. Like Hayase's Fi in general is simping hard for Fushi. I can
Yes.
agree with you
Hmm.
there. Yes, yes, yes.
Indeed. Indeed. So in Yuki's case, is he simping for Mizuha? And I don't
Hmm.
know. Like, it's hard to say. Is it just Is it just a little crush
Well,
or not?
they did share that one scene in this book where they were really like understanding each
Yeah.
other's feelings, even though like they don't feel the same way about each other mutually, but they it seemed like they had very similar feelings for the respective people that they had feelings for, which
Uh-huh.
if that's any sign toward his feelings being as strong, like for her being as strong as her feelings for Fushi,
Ah.
then maybe he is simping for her. But
Yeah, maybe you're right.
maybe. Although I still feel like we need more on that.
Yeah, I agree.
Hmm.
I agree. Like why? Like why? What was the moment that he
Right. For
Now if he
example.
has a shrine in his closet that okay, we've gone past something.
Yeah. 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 It all remains to be seen. But really the only thing that I got noted down for Yuki for this book was that he wants to help Fushi stop the Knockers now, and he wants to do it through diplomatic methods, which is really really fun. Like, would be amazing if it works out.
Yeah,
But hard to say. But it's something I'm very excited to see where it goes because it seemed like Fushi was on board with
sure.
trying that, and yeah, so hopefully we'll see more of that in volume 15.
Yeah, I really wonder how you help the knockers sympathize or empathize or whatever. And
Mm,
yeah, it'll be an interesting task.
yeah.
And definitely a change from just killing knockers all the time.
Right, exactly. Yeah, would be pretty fresh if they are able to do it.
Right, if they're able to do it. Right.
Mm.
I I think along with that, Yuki's a master of disguise.
Oh
I
yeah.
feel like not only did he hide at the diner, he hid in the bush, and
Yes.
I feel like there was one more time where he was kind of stealthy. But yeah, I mean he's great at gathering intel, I guess. So
Right.
you know, hopefully they can use that to their advantage.
I Yeah, for sure. Yeah, that is a hopefully a useful skill to have on the team. Anything more on him, or do we move on to Aiko?
No, I just hope his heart isn't too broken up about the you know Mizuha definitely have a thing for Fushi.
Yeah,
Um,
right, for sure.
I mean he seems okay.
Yeah,
It's just a little crush.
right. Maybe
And that's why it's not
maybe it
simping
just is
because he's able to move on.
exactly. Yeah, yeah. You absolutely may be right about that. Uh, hopefully he can move on.
Maybe he can. I don't know. It feels like he has.
Er, I'm not sure. His feelings still seem to be pretty strong.
Sorry. Yeah, you're right. I meant
But
move on as in he doesn't like hold a grudge against Fushi or anything like that. You know.
right, right, right. Yeah, yeah. There's that, I guess. But talking about his little sister, Aiko, from something I thought was pretty sweet in this book was that pretty much from the start of the volume, pretty early on, she was pretty adamant about giving the horse, like the Pioran horse, a name, which I
Hmm.
think Fushi is only he just calls it horse, as I
Hmm.
think they said in the previous book. Uh,
Yeah.
and I really loved how at the end of the book, or near the end of the book, that tied into the question of what love is,
Hmm.
and how, well, one of the many things that she said, or that she was sort of described as love, was, well, to give this horse a name, for example, um, which still hasn't happened, but would be nice for it to actually get a name. Well, I guess it would be nice
Yeah.
for the bear. I mean, the bear is Mr. Bear, or at least March calls it Mr. Bear.
Hmm.
So I guess that one would need a name too, like a proper name. But whatever.
Yeah. I thought about that whole name thing. I was like, I mean, yeah, it'd be nice to have it a name, but I don't think it doesn't mean he. I don't think it means he doesn't love it. You know. Um. I don't know. Maybe she's onto something. I just can't comprehend it quite yet. I
Hmm.
feel like the horse's name is just horse. Like, but that's the name. You know. It's not just like, oh, it's a horse. It's like, no, it's horse.
Right. Well,
See?
yeah, but it's a bad name. Like, let's be
Oh,
real.
of course, it's a terrible name. I agree. Oh no, I agree. It's basic.
Yeah.
Um,
Uh,
but I don't know. I still I still feel he loves the horse.
yeah.
Um, but the thing that shocked me about Aiko is, well, I mean, we know she's a sweet kid,
Yeah.
but she's strangely intelligent beyond her years. I feel like.
I feel like that was made pretty clear even in the previous book.
Oh, was it really?
I felt, when she contacted the Tasty Peach Foundation and worked all of that out with them, and
True.
and there were like a few other little details, but I felt
I just thought it was just capable.
I,
But this one,
fair.
she knows about inflation.
Yeah.
It feels like she's keeping people in line, and then she also just goes on to this philosophical, not rant, but a little bit description of what love is.
Yeah.
Using words that I don't think even Yuki could hope to repeat at this point in his life.
And she
like,
sort of warned him not to overwork his brain too much. That was also pretty funny. I really like Aiko so far. Like, she's obviously
I do too.
Like, mostly sort of a comedic side character, but just really really great at being what she is.
Right.
And when she shared her allowance from her piggy bank with everybody,
so cute.
So cute.
So adorable.
My heart. Yeah.
Especially in that chapter where she's talking about love, you can really see her Poco face.
Yeah.
Just come out.
That also reminded me of the scene with Poco when she suddenly starts speaking perfectly normal, and and she starts using very complicated words that we had never heard her use before. It was sort of a little bit that vibe, although not as surprising, because I sort of got a little bit of that vibe in the previous book, but it sort of eased us into it more. In Poco's case, obviously, it was a complete 180, but still, a little bit of that was pretty cool.
Come on, Oima. Confirm that they're descendants of Poco Tasty Peach. Come on.
Yeah.
I want it so bad.
Yeah,
it's so minor, but I want it.
Honestly, I feel so sure of this that I don't really need a confirmation. I feel so sure that this is what it's supposed to be.
You just never know, man. You can't be sure until you see the words.
You're right. You are right. Anything more on the Aoki kids?
Nah.
All right, then a little bit on Kazumitsu Aoki. I guess his last name is Aoki. I guess I can't know for sure, but anyway, it's really just one thing, and it's the fact that he brought up this idea of, well, for one, fixing Gugu's face and his alcohol gut, and also fixing Hiro's teeth, which was something I hadn't thought about. I hadn't thought about that, but definitely, being in the modern age that they are, that is a possibility. However, then it also got me thinking that what if Fushi has the ability to fix all of that?
I thought that too.
Sort of the way that because of the power that he unlocked in Volume 12 that we've talked about, how he's able to make things as he sees them or as he wants them.
Right.
Like how he was able to make Tsunari a kid. What if he could actually just recreate them, like Hiro with teeth or Gugu with a regular face and without that alcohol thing in his stomach.
The problem is you'd have to kill them.
Exactly.
And then give them that body.
Yeah, that is the downside of that.
I don't think they're wanting to do that at this point.
Yeah, no, Fushi wouldn't want to do that. But yeah, I wonder if anything is going to actually be made out of this, if it's going to lead to anything, or if it was just a comment. But it would be, it would make both of their lives better, probably.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, Hiro, it's not like he needs the lack of teeth in order to be useful at all. So yeah, get the dentures. But for Gugu, I can see why he would hesitate, because the flame breathing stuff has been so useful in the past. But if this is supposed to be the peaceful world that they've always hoped for, then there's no need for it, right?
Exactly. Like Tsunari, as in the previous volume was made clear, like she shouldn't need her like poison resistance
Right.
and stuff. So,
Exactly. You're right. Yeah.
oh yeah, I guess we could talk about Tonari next if there's nothing else on Kazumitsu.
Oh sure, man. She looks at Mizuha and just like sus. You're so sus. Like,
Yeah.
you know, just from the start. Well, she kind of looked at the Fushi. Is like, it's suspicious when he's looking at those clothes and when you say things. Drinking her drink in the morning. It's like, you know.
Yeah.
Um, but I don't blame her, especially when she
No.
figures out it is Mizuha. It's a touchy subject. And she calls herself a hypocrite, and she understands that, but it's also to protect Fushi, and I totally see where she's coming from. I want her to be wrong, like I
Yeah.
want her and Mizuha to get along,
Yeah.
but I don't know the track record, and I know people can change, and but she's also a different person.
Yeah.
But just the way the story goes, it's just hard to have complete faith in that bloodline.
Yeah. They're very difficult to predict.
Right.
And as I said, like I totally also understand Tonari's like wariness of her, like especially since she's the only one other than Fushi who was around for Hayase, Hisame, and Kahaku. Like she was there for all of that. And so she really knows that family's track record, and then she straight up refused to be friendly with Mizuha, and all of that was sad to see. As I said, understandable, but still really sad to see. But it is something that I'm really hoping, like I'm hoping to get some development in that. To over time seeing these two characters become genuine friends would be so beautiful, especially since it's starting out this way. Like that's something I'm really, really hoping for.
I agree. I thought the same thing, that it would be great to see them become friends eventually. But do you think Tonari will be right in the end? Even if they become friends,
right?
Do you think?
Do
you think something like that will happen, or is it more complicated than that? Is it, the Nokker is destined to make their lives a living hell?
So, I think Mizuha is going to be better than Kahaku was.
Okay.
Is my prediction. That doesn't necessarily mean that she's going to be ideal, obviously. I mean, already she has killed her own mother.
Sure.
Or
yeah.
Well, maybe.
We don't. Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
So it's already not ideal, but I'm holding out hope for her to be able to, in a genuine, real way, get closer to Fushi and his friends as well than Kahaku did. Because that's sort of where I'm seeing the story going, sort of, as like each new generation or each new person that Fushi interacts with from Hayase's line will be a better person in some way. Is my hope. So that's probably what I think. But it makes it hard, like, because just because she might be better than Kahaku doesn't mean that she won't in some way harm Fushi or someone close to Fushi.
You're right.
What do you think?
Well, I definitely think it'll be the more complicated route. I don't think it'll be cut as dry and Tonali be like, "Ha, told you," kind of a thing.
yeah, for sure.
She would never do that, but I would just make it a joke. I think that I do think they could become friends, but and maybe she'll be part of the group, unlike Kahaku, who was kind of an outsider, especially towards the end, whether of his own doing or just a situation. But with Mizuha, I think she could get closer, and then if something bad does happen that comes from Mizuha in a way, I think it'll be less, oh my gosh, we should never have done that, let her in. And maybe there'll be a hint of that, but I think it'll be more like how tragic that Mizuha's in this situation, and she can't stop the Nokker in her arm or whatever,
Exactly, yeah.
Maybe there'll be more understanding.
For sure, yeah, I definitely hope for that. And the last little thing I got on Tonari was I felt pretty sorry for her when Fushi started laughing at her new clothes. How rude. He was so rude.
He was really rude.
She had really made an effort to dress up and look cute in that dress, and like Fushi was just pointing and laughing.
To be fair, she had a like really awkward like poses in it. Like she could tell. I feel like you could tell she was uncomfortable in the
Yeah,
clothes,
yeah. I mean,
and she did not pick that out.
true, true, and yeah, you're right. She isn't used to wearing those sort of garbs,
Uh huh.
so it makes sense, I suppose. And I will be honest. I think she looks much better in her normal clothes as well.
Mm-hmm.
But still, like,
She could find a modern day outfit that would work. She
oh,
really could.
for sure, absolutely, absolutely, she could.
I honestly, I think she could rock. Like, Hana's kind of regular street clothes. I
Mm,
think, well, maybe not the baggy shirt. I don't think that's very Tonari's style, but something along those lines
yeah,
where it's not a skirt, but it's just maybe pants or something like that. Anyway,
definitely, definitely.
they should become friends. I hope they do.
Really, really hope so. um, anything more on Tonari?
Oh yes, all these feelings that she's having, and being cautious around Mizuha.
Hmm.
Could it also be that there is a tinge of jealousy? Maybe.
Oh, oh,
I don't know.
I
Maybe a
should have,
tinge.
dude. I should have picked up on, like, sort of, or thought of that, but I did not. I could, I mean, at least based on what we talked about before, because this has been sort of a
Right.
standing thing between, or that we've been talking about.
Hmm.
Yeah, I could maybe see that.
I mean, I don't think it's the number one factor,
Right?
and I
No,
hope it doesn't become a conflict. Like I don't want that.
no, no.
No,
Right?
but maybe there is a bit of it there, and
Yeah.
who knows? Maybe that will help Fushi in his journey to understand what love is.
Precisely.
Who
Yeah.
knows?
Yeah. I was thinking about earlier when we were talking about how Mizuha might, try to explain what love is, and then maybe the Aoki siblings might also continue to try to help him out on that. But what if Tonari ultimately is the one to help him,
Dude,
really understand what it is?
dude, oh my gosh. Like, my my inner shipper would go crazy. I'd probably become the president of the fan club after that.
Yeah, yeah, you
I
would. You would.
I dictatorship, just overthrow the ruling party. And, yeah.
I believe it. Yeah. But yeah, well, we can dream.
Sure.
Then I guess moving on a little bit on March. First of all, I thought it was really sweet to see how she was still so caring about Kahaku, and
Yeah.
she was hoping that he was doing well, and she was asking about
Uh-huh.
him. That was really sweet, I thought, and it was nice to see, like, thanks to her bringing him up. I was just happy to see a panel of him, like a drawing of him in this book, because obviously
Yeah.
I love Kahaku, so it was nice to see him there,
Yeah.
even though it was just a little flash.
Yeah, it's tragic, but it also shows, how I I mean, in a way you could say that March and maybe other children her age are able to overlook those mistakes and see, the goodness that are
Yeah,
inside people.
yeah. Oh,
Mhm.
dude, I really like that way to view that. Yeah, and she got all the spikes out of Mr. Bear.
Thank you.
Like,
Poor Mr. Bear.
I was so happy for that, because I remember, like, last volume when Mr. Bear was brought. Mr. Bear, we've been calling him
Mr.
Oniguma,
Bear.
but he's been named Mr. Bear here, so I'm just rolling with that. Uh, because Oniguma really is wrong, because he wasn't that Oniguma creature that people
You're right,
thought
yeah.
he was. But anyway, last volume when he was brought back to life, with all those spikes in his body, I was so sad, because I knew we knew that was, like, giving him
He was in
constant
pain.
pain, and,
Hmm.
like, yeah, that's just dreadful. So I was just so happy to see that all of that had been taken care of in this book.
Agreed. Her choice in clothing is well, unique. I mean, she could definitely find a place in Harajuku. She's like the Lolita style, or the Lolita style, however you want to pronounce it. She's, maybe she has a potential Lolita idol, a cosplay idol,
Yeah.
future ahead of her.
Right. I mean, if she's, like, we don't know her age exactly, but, like, 4 or 5 years old or something, like, uh,
Uh-huh.
I feel like she probably picked her own dress, and she did pick Tonari's dress. I sort of
Hmm.
got a little bit like a princess esque vibe from those dresses
That could be it
to
too.
some degree.
Yeah.
But yeah, like some sort of
But her
Lolita.
dress is very Victorian.
Right, yeah,
I
yeah.
felt like.
Yeah, hers especially. Definitely. Yeah.
But anyway, uh, her face when you know you you see her for the first time in that dress. She's like, "Say you're sorry right now." And it's oh gosh, so cute, buddy.
Yeah, and she really embraced like the mother mentality too. Like, don't just say you're sorry.
Oh,
Say
yeah.
why you're sorry. Like, explain what you did wrong. Like, so good.
Oh. Another joke that I loved from her was the school job taxes.
Yes.
Like,
I don't have any of those. Am I gonna die?
I love it.
Yeah.
Oh, I love it
That was
so
that was
much.
probably the biggest laugh in the volume for me.
Yeah, yeah. It was great.
Like for her of all people to be the one to say taxes.
Right? You know, it's just out of the blue. So perfect.
Yeah.
Have you mentioned earlier about the home instructor coming to teach March and Echo?
Yeah.
A thought came to mind, and it may be nothing. It really may be nothing because I really doubt we'll see Gugu in high school or anything like that. We probably won't see much of what the side characters are doing. But with March and Echo, it's just a thought. Like, what if a Nokker like gets in there? Like, Nokker pretends to be the teacher person, and then Nokker is able to get inside the house that way. But that's just like a little thought I had, and I'm more sure that it's just going to be nothing than it actually becoming something. But that could be a potential way that the Nokkers get to Fushi. But who knows?
Yeah, that is really interesting, dude. Now you're kind of making me think of another manga called Parasite. It's a pretty old manga that was adapted into anime relatively recently, sort of. Where there's basically some alien parasites are infecting a bunch of humans on Earth, and yeah, you just never know who is one of those parasites and who isn't.
Right.
Like, it's sort of that with the Knockers right now.
That's what it's becoming.
Yeah. That's man. Yeah. Ooh, I hadn't really thought about it in that way, but yeah, that's a pretty scary thought.
Indeed. That's all I have on March.
Right. Anything more on any of the Warriors of Light?
I wish I could say more about Echo, but all I'll say is that she just looks so happy in her clothes.
Yeah.
How she just pops out. She's like, "Look at me!" I mean, she didn't say that, but it just.
Yeah. No. Totally. Yeah. She's so happy.
Yeah. I really want more from her.
Yeah.
As well, but obviously the story won't for a while because we're focusing on something else. So I just hope eventually we get that. But anyway,
I agree.
Oh, I like how Gu's freaking out about Fushi potentially having a girlfriend. Like he's just just wait, really?
Yeah, and then he's like whispering in his ear, like that.
Dude, give me the dudes.
Is it really like, dude, you're doing good? It's like, yeah, that was really good.
If Gugu is anything, he's very supportive.
Yeah. Oh my god, I love Gugu. Like, sure, he's been small, like he's been a minor character in these books, but like these last books,
Right.
but it's still been really nice to see him, being with Fushi, interacting with Fushi, and just being himself, and all that. Even though it's small, it's still very good to see.
Indeed. And Bon also, he's also playing a pretty big role in helping Fushi find those Knockers.
Yeah.
So obviously crucial. Best janitor ever. I mean,
Yeah.
he's gonna kill it. I have a feeling. But that's all I have on him.
Yeah.
But, I just want to emphasize again, him finding Izumi's mom is so useful, so very important.
Completely. Yeah. He's probably. I feel like he's probably the biggest character out of the ones, or he and Tonari are probably the two biggest ones.
Yeah, those two
out of the old characters.
March a close third.
Yeah, for sure. So anybody else out of those?
I don't think I do.
All right, then let's talk about the Beholder.
Oh.
So this was probably the most interesting, or one of the most interesting at the very least, parts of this book, was learning that he has taken the form of an 11-year-old human boy permanently.
Yeah. He may have pulled the trigger a little too soon, or there's more to it.
Right. and like to learn that he has sort of programmed that body to lose all the memories of the beholder and all of that in 4 years from now, and thus he would lose all of his powers and everything. He would just become a 100% regular human at that point. Like,
Mm-hmm.
so Fushi has 4 years, and after that, Fushi will essentially be the new beholder of the world.
Yeah,
So,
I guess so.
I mean, there wouldn't be anybody like above him or anybody to
Right.
mentor him or anything like that. So yeah, man, that is such an interesting reveal. Like I'm still sort of struggling like with like sort of understanding like, or like it's just such a big thing because the beholder has always been there
Right.
as this omnipotent like godlike being, and now
Mm-hmm.
he's about to like he's halfway into like not being that anymore.
It's kind of scary to think, there was a. I mean, yes, we in the past we have thought it may be a bit sketchy, but he was still kind of a lifeline.
Yeah,
And now
right.
in 4 years, you won't have that lifeline anymore.
Exactly.
There's now a deadline for Fushi to become as omnipotent as he can,
Mm-hmm.
um, you know, before the beholder disappears.
Right.
Um, yeah, so it's gonna be crazy interesting, and I guess part of it has to do with part of it could be that beholder it has just surrendered. He's like, oh, we've lost. There's nothing we could do. Or it could be that this is the next push for Fushi to get to the point where he can recognize the tiny knockers, the bugs, and everything.
Mm-mm.
I don't know why it's necessary for that for this to happen to be that push, but here it is.
Yeah. Things are much riskier for Fushi now, considering if Fushi would lose all of his forms to the knockers, like he has done a couple times in the past,
Uh,
then there's no way for him to come back. Well, and like let's say it happens when Bon also is, well, if he has been taken over by a knocker or something like that. So like he can't use Bon's like Bon can't do what he did in volume 12 potentially.
uh-huh.
Like so under those sorts of circumstances, with no beholder around either, it would be over for Fushi completely.
Yeah, 4 years later, yeah, if something
Right.
like that were to happen,
Uh huh.
it'd be done. It'd be gone.
Yeah.
Bye bye. The world would be destroyed.
So yeah, as you said, like the deadline is definitely there, very very concretely, and into like getting much stronger against this enemy, which now seems untouchable. So it's yeah, man. Yeah, I'm loving how high the stakes are now, even though it's not like an immediate threat perhaps, but it's still the
Right.
stakes are still really high considering the deadline and considering how much the knockers have advanced.
Right. What I think about this change for the beholder in general. I mean, besides the fact that he's, well, first off, I just want to say that he's cut himself off from the body, is given that reconnection ability to Fushi,
Yeah.
which I thought was an interesting way to show that the beholder couldn't really teach him that, couldn't tell him about that ability
Right.
beforehand. Because I had thought, it's like, well, why wait until now to do that? But I guess there was a very good reason for that. So there can only be one of these, immortal beings, Fushi-like being,
Yeah.
at a time, connected to everything,
Exactly.
or at least have that reconnection ability.
Yeah. Yeah.
So there's that. But him almost throwing away his immortality for mortality reminds me of how he talked. Bone brings up like, "What's your reward after all this?" All the way back in
Yeah.
volume 7, I think,
Yeah.
and he says freedom, or was it freedom, or
I think it was
uh,
freedom. I think
something
that's
like
what he
that.
said, but he said it in a way so that it sort of sounded like it would be freedom for Fushi, but it was also interpretable, so it could
Right,
have been for him. So yeah, yeah.
right.
I also thought
And
about
we
this.
and we and yeah, and we had talked about that, and I think, I think we're right that this could be the freedom he's looking for, freedom from being the caretaker of the world,
Hmm.
being able to live a human life and maybe experience things that he felt like he couldn't, as an immortal being, and then eventually pass away. And I don't know if he have a fi or something like. I don't know how that works, But
I mean, he is 100% human right now.
right, he
Or maybe
is.
not 100%, or in 4 years at least he will be.
Oh yeah, good point.
His body is human, so he should have a phi. I feel like.
But has he?
Or,
But the Phi would control the body then, and he wouldn't be the beholder.
hmm.
So does Fushi have a Phi in and of himself?
Right.
Do they? Do they both have had Phis all these years?
Yeah,
These millennia?
that's a good question.
I don't know.
Yeah.
But if they did, that would be an incentive to live a human life and then go into paradise. And maybe he has friends or people he wants to see in paradise. I'm not sure exactly how it works, but maybe he
Right.
has a dream.
Well, yeah,
He
I
has a
mean,
dream, you know?
right, exactly. Right, to be with some of the people that he lost, similarly to how Fushi lost Perona and Reen, for example.
Right. Yep.
Yeah,
That's what I'm thinking.
I can definitely see that. Yeah, yeah.
So, yeah. Why do you think he told Fushi to forget what he saw? Like,
Oh yeah, there.
when
Yeah, I've that one was a bit strange.
I mean, it was very ominous.
I wonder, maybe at that point he hadn't really made up his mind to even reveal himself at all to Fushi in this child form. Maybe he had just, maybe his plan at that point was just to just leave things as they are and just from then on start living as a human. But maybe he just couldn't resist to interfere that one time or something.
Hmm.
I don't know.
I feel like it would be a bad idea to not let Fushi know 4 years is your deadline.
Yeah, you're right.
You know?
Yeah.
But obviously he's an all-knowing being, so maybe he understands things better than I do. Um,
Maybe.
he also is a fictional character. Let's not forget that, James. Shut up.
You do have a point there.
Do you think he's hiding something? I think Yuki implies that
Oh yeah.
the beholder might be hiding that there is this ability to find the knockers. I feel like yes. I don't
Mm.
know. Again, I don't know why. It just you're so difficult sometimes, beholder.
He is.
But what do you think?
I'm gonna say no.
Okay. Okay.
I don't think he's keeping anything from Fuji right now. Bond was asking some pretty specific questions, and I don't think the Beholder would have outright lied about those answers. I think if he
Mm.
had known anything, he would have told, but he basically couldn't really answer any of those questions that Bond was asking in that scene. And that makes me think that the Beholder is largely in the dark on this as well. And maybe he's too proud to admit it, but perhaps he did indeed, you know, take this form prematurely.
Yeah. Kind of goes back to Bones' whole thing, with where Fushi was looking for the beholder, and he's like, "Oh, he's probably too embarrassed.
Oh,
Like, he's got to even come
exactly.
out because we're
Right.
laughing at him."
Yeah. I mean, I could see that being potentially the case here. But yeah, like I probably at this point at least I choose to think that he isn't keeping anything away from Fushi right now.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Anything more on the Beholder?
Nope.
Then let's finish this off by talking about the Knockers. If there's anything more, we have touched on them largely throughout the discussion. And let's see if there's anything
Yeah.
remaining. Well, the Beholder says that like the amount of them of these microscopic knockers is immeasurable. Like how many is that? Like that
Good feelings
crazy.
destroyed,
Right?
like obliterated.
Yeah, that was a very scary reveal. And it seems as if though the knockers have chosen to coexist with humans for whatever reason.
Hmm. But in turn, that means they lost, which is an interesting way to put it.
Yeah, I mean it does because it does mean that knockers coexisting with humans, I mean they ultimately do have to kill a human to take over its body.
Hmm.
Or unless they take over a body that has died from other means, which technically was the case with Izumi, and potentially was also the case with that guy who fell off the bridge, as you pointed out.
Izumi, like we don't. Izumi could be done by another knocker, but the guy on the bridge,
Well,
yes.
no, but I mean, or okay, yeah. If the knocker in Mizuha's arm, fair. Okay, yeah.
Hmm.
Right, yeah, we don't know for sure there. But yeah, like it's yeah, coexistence is a tough word to use potentially, because if they
Right.
kill humans to take over their bodies, then I don't know if it's really a coexistence as much as it's like a an infiltration,
Mm-hmm.
maybe.
What does that mean for the knockers and their purpose? I think you brought this up before, and I and I just have some questions slash theories
Hmm.
that I kind of want to put out.
Yeah,
Why not just become human like the other Phi that come to Earth, are born
right.
and then experience life? Why not? Why not that? Obviously, they're afraid, or they don't want the pain and the suffering part.
Yeah.
So if that's still their goal, if that's still their mentality, they want to experience life without pain and suffering. So that being said, maybe the knockers are just all these Phi that are controlling these bodies that die and just keep on living forever. But
Mm.
they don't experience pain. As we see with Mimori, it doesn't seem like she was in pain. Just very scary.
Or well, I
Stuff of
guess,
nightmares.
yeah, I guess like her face didn't show pain, but Fushi felt the pain. So
But again, I think that goes back to the body was in pain, not
right,
the knockers.
like that, like yeah, right. That would make sense as to like why they would choose this method of taking human forms as opposed to, or I guess there would be two reasons for them to use this method to become human as opposed to just letting their Phi be born as humans. Because it would first of all be this, if this is how it works, that this way they can avoid feeling the pain of the flesh. If that's what one thing, then
Hmm.
that would make sense for sure. But the other reason I think why they wouldn't just be born again, or not necessarily again, but just be born as humans, would be that if they were, they would forget their objective, I think, right?
Oh,
Because, or like at least they wouldn't have distinct memories of it.
yeah. I mean, they would have the objective, but but at that point their objective has changed. If they're coming into the world, if Phi is coming to the world to be born, like their objective is different
Exactly.
to start
It
with.
was changed in some sense. I feel like surely we know that certain objectives and wants can be carried on, but at the very least we know that the personality will change. Like the person will be a different person. So somehow things would change for them. So maybe they don't want to go through with it that way either, for that reason as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, like yeah, it's so interesting, this whole thing.
And find it interesting that they're also able to heal the body like they are. You know, they're not Fushi in that sense, but yeah, it's like how are they able to do that? Are they just manipulating the cells to heal rapidly?
Yeah, I mean, they've been able to control plant life and stuff very effectively before. So I guess this is just the next step. Like
Yeah,
they can now make
you're
flesh
right.
grow as they please, sort of.
Wow.
I guess. I mean, it is
Talk about
it
evolution.
right. It's incredible. Uh, and I've been thinking sort of about what their current goal could be, um, and that it's, or at least my guess right now is that it's to continue to infesting humans, like secretly becoming and impersonating humans until there are no humans left alive. I
Hmm.
guess, like, because we know that is their goal. They want to rid the world of Phi within flesh.
They want to free them,
Yeah, right.
kind of a thing.
So with this new types of knockers, these microscopic knockers, they, like if they just continue to do what they have done to Izumi and to Mimori, then eventually every person on Earth will be like them, and then there won't be any actual humans left alive. So I
Right.
that's my thinking as to what their goal right now is, and just to
Oh,
taking
I think the same
sort
thing.
of
Yeah.
taking their time with it, like because they at this point they can't really be affected or they can't really be stopped. Um,
Hmm.
at this point, hopefully Fushi will find a way, but yeah, if they just continue like this, then they will definitely win.
Right. Because I don't think it's necessarily a situation where you leave the Nokkers alone, they'll leave you alone. No, they won't leave you alone. As we can, I feel like Izumi and Mizuha is evidence of that. That for some reason or another, the Nokkers felt like that was a time to kill Izumi or whatever. At least that's my opinion. Obviously, we don't know that for a fact, but I guess they just buy their time until people die or something like that. And I obviously don't know all the details, but it's not. Yeah, I don't think it's a situation where these beings are benevolent in any way. I think they're, like you said, biding their time and just one by one.
Exactly, because instead of just killing them straight up, killing the humans, by taking their forms instead and impersonating them and just continuing their lives as they were, that way they can avoid being detected as easily, and they can pretty much avoid conflict altogether, potentially.
Yep.
Which is a very smart plan, and yeah, of course, Fushi is wise to them now to some extent, but yeah, he needs to find a way to counter that. But yeah.
The power of love.
Yeah, dude, maybe that will be it.
I don't know how.
No, dude, me neither. But maybe that will be it though. Yeah. A boy can dream. So yeah, I think that's it for me for all of the characters. Do you get anything more on the Nokkers for anybody else?
No, I don't.
All right then. What else do we got to say about this volume? I guess, well, I'm as you said at the beginning, it's great to be into the present day, and being 2 books into it now, it feels awesome. And Mizuha is a lovely new character.
I really do hope that we have the love section, or Fushi learn about love. That'll kind of be the theme of this next volume, I hope.
Absolutely.
But yeah, at the same time, I'm kind of like in the dark. Don't know exactly where they're gonna go with this love thing, per se.
Right. Precisely. Yeah. There's a lot of ways it could go, and like, because we're shipping Mizuha with like potentially 3 different characters now, being Yuki, Hanna, and Fushi, and I mean we're shipping Fushi with Tonari, but also to a degree with Mizuha. So there's a lot of ways things could go on that front, I suppose.
Yeah, I mean it'll be interesting to see.
Absolutely.
For sure.
Yeah. I'm just really excited, and I can't wait to get volume 15, or to get my hands on volume 15 eventually, hopefully really soon, so that I can read it and so that we can talk about it. But yeah, that's it for now.
Yep.
Yeah, so if you enjoy our content, you can follow us on Twitter at Umami Manga, and it would be lovely if you'd like to support us by either rating our shows on the podcast platforms or subscribing to our channel Umami Manga on YouTube. If you like this episode, please share it around with anyone you think might enjoy it too. Thank you so much for listening, and we'll see you next time when we'll talk about Volume 15. Bye bye!
See you later!